Good morning, Mr. MEP Soleil. Thanks a lot for your time and for accepting our interview on behalf of Financial Times Chinese. It is our pleasure to have this chance to discuss with you about geopolitical shifts, challenges for EU and for the world. Thanks a lot. And my first question will go to the direction, how do you understand right now the geopolitical shifts at the world level? And do you think that will affect the EU-China relationship in the long run?
I believe there is a growing competition between, on the one side, the US and on the other side, China, and the European Union is somehow caught in between this growing competition and tensions as well. These are two different axes with very different values, trying to show who's best able to deliver economic growth and economic might, and to play a bigger role in geopolitics, in the international order. But I believe the European Union has to find its own place and its own role in this growing competition between these two superpowers. The EU relations with China has been and is still an ongoing debate within the European Union, because there is no single approach between member states on how should be our relations with China. There are different views on that, and I think we are still in the making of a clear EU policy towards China. There is also another factor to be taken into account, which is the war of aggression, the Russian aggression to Ukraine. That has been a turning point, I would say, in the world order and in international relations. We have seen basically how China has aligned with Putin, and of course this alignment has not pleased what we can say the Western world, or the US and its allies, and here we can also count the European Union. So this invasion, this war in Ukraine, this invasion by Putin's Russia has only made things worse. I think, in the sense that the relations between China and the EU have suffered and are suffering because of, for instance, the fact that China has never condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Okay, I understand. Okay, thanks for your answer. My second question will go into the direction, how do you understand the economic challenges for the EU, and in which way can the EU really tackle with these economic challenges in medium or long run?
Some months ago, the perspectives for the EU economy looked a bit difficult, and there was even talk about a possible recession. Now, some months into 2023, it seems there is no more big concern about possible recession in the EU. We see how EU economies are holding. There is a bit of economic growth, but we have many challenges. Probably the most urgent one in the short term is the fight against inflation. inflation is making households poorer, especially the most vulnerable households. Inflation is also making life more difficult for companies trying to cope with the increase of prices, for instance, energy prices, and the EU has to focus on how to reduce inflation in the coming weeks and months. Now we have seen in the last weeks another concern related to the banking system, since some important banks in the US and Switzerland have failed, have fallen somehow. But I think the banking system in the EU today is stronger than 10, 15 years ago when we had the big financial crisis. But still, we have to watch over the health of our banking system, and there are some concerns these days about this. But then, more in the medium to long run, I think probably the biggest challenge is to help our companies, our economy, our families as well, to adapt to the Green Deal and the challenges of the Green Deal. We have to be able to transform the way we produce, the way we consume, the way we move around. And that means a huge effort, a huge political commitment. Also, that implies financial means, and I know some companies are concerned about the challenges they have ahead in terms of restructuring and adapting to the new goals and to the new legislation that this European Parliament, together with the Council, is producing. But we have to do this. We need to fight against climate change. We need to move forward in terms of ecological transition, energy transition, and that implies there has to be a very big and a very solid agreement between stakeholders in politics, in economy, in society. We have put ourselves as one of the main goals, to become carbon neutral in 2050. And we have to do all the efforts which are necessary to achieve this challenging goal. And for this, we need to work together and to share the effort, because we cannot wait for another decade to really start moving ahead, moving forward in the ecological transition.
Well, thanks for your answer. And my first question will be, since you will be the Spanish MP and also the President of France and the President of the European Commission going to China in the next few weeks, how do you see their visit to China, and what do you expect from their visit?
I think, despite of the fact that in the last months and years, the relations between the EU and China have suffered. There have been political, trade-related tensions. Also, there's been growing criticism from the EU side because of human rights situation in China. There has been retaliation, there have been sanctions, mutual sanctions. Despite all of this, it's always important to keep channels open, to keep dialogue open. leaders, these European leaders, can tackle together with the Chinese President Xi Jinping very important issues such as the war in Ukraine. I am convinced that China plays a key role in bringing to the table solutions for a stable and fair and lasting peace in Ukraine. They can play, and I hope they will play a big role, especially in convincing Putin that this has to stop and that this is in the interest of nobody to continue the bloodshed in Ukraine, that they have to remove their troops and bring to a halt this crazy war. But also I expect from this visit to tackle the issue how EU-China relations have to be in the near future, because we are important trading partners to each other. There is a lot at stake also in terms of what kind of economy, what kind of world economy we want to have, we want to develop for the next years. And I believe that it's important to have these talks, these dialogues in the coming weeks, because as I said at the beginning, what the EU should avoid is to get trapped in between this growing competition. We want to have our own voice, of course, in terms of values, of political system, of fundamental rights. We are much closer to the US, but still China is, of course, a very strong and important world player, and we have to keep always channels open, doors open, and the dialogue has to be steady and always ongoing.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Do you have some few words for some Chinese companies who want to develop European market, or they're already operating in Europe? Do you have some tips, advices for them?
I would say they are welcome, and they will be always welcome. Not only Chinese companies, but also companies from other parts of the world, as long as they are willing to play by the rules, to follow our standards in terms of competition, in terms of labor, in terms of standards of quality, and as long as companies do what they are supposed to do, which is to try to sell their products following the rules that we have in the European Union. That would be my message to them.
Thanks a lot, MEP Sole, and thanks a lot for your time. And it is a very insightful interview. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.